After I started dating Chris, I always had "I like you" on the tip of my tongue. Chris's reaction was actually pretty cute. He'd shove his hands into his pockets and try to act all cool and distant, but the tips of his ears would turn completely red. I was completely immersed in the sweetness of our relationship, until an audio recording titled "Quotes from Simp Lynn" began to spread rapidly through the school. The first part of the clip was me, playfully and sincerely saying, "I like you." Then came Chris's nonchalant complaint. If it weren't for helping Mia get back to being top of the grade, I wouldn't even bother playing this love game with Lynn. Hearing her say "I love you" every day makes me sick to my stomach. Turns out, blushing ears don't mean a racing heart. Turns out, even love can be faked. I didn't beg or cling to him. I quickly filed for a transfer and quietly disappeared from Chris's world. A year later, Chris was already desperate trying to find me. Then a video went viral across the internet. It was two freshmen from Qingbei University doing a public confession. The beautiful girl beamed as she said, "I like you," and the handsome boy, blushing, replied a bit seriously, a bit obsessively, and a bit childishly, "I like you 100 times more than you like me." That night, after I once again took first place in our grade, someone sent an audio file titled "Quotes from Simp Lynn" into the class group chat. Seeing my name in the title made my heart clench. I hesitated, then clicked on it. As expected, it started with my playful and sincere "I like you." Then Chris's voice followed. If it weren't for helping Mia get her rank back, I wouldn't bother playing this dating game with Lynn. Listening to her go on and on about love every day, it makes me want to puke. I clenched my fists tightly, my nails digging into my palms, the sharp sting rushing through me. But I kept clenching tighter and tighter, as if that pain could mask the hurt deep in my chest. The class group chat was exploding. Wow, Lynn really was such a simp. I've heard her say "I like you" to Chris so many times. LOL, simps always end up with nothing. No girl throws herself at a guy like that. It's pathetic. But wasn't Chris the one who went after Lynn? Don't come for me. If you're mad, it means I'm right. Everyone knows Chris only got with her to help Mia get back her top rank. Dating Lynn distracted him, and that's how Mia got ahead again. I used to wonder how someone like Lynn could beat a childhood friend. Turns out the childhood friend was undercover the whole time. This childhood friend couple is such a joke. Kick the miracle transfer out already. Before Lynn transferred, Mia always ranked first. As soon as Lynn arrived, Mia lost that spot. If it were me, I'd be upset too. Lynn is always like, "You're so cute, I like you so much." Seriously? Pretending to be some cheerful sunshine girl or whatever? Finally, everyone realizes how annoying she really is. Everyone was happily gossiping, completely forgetting I was still in the group chat. Or maybe it didn't matter to them at all whether I was there. Chris and I were totally different people. He was the class president, a model student, the typical perfect kid. I was outgoing and lively. I used to think I had a good relationship with everyone in class. But today I finally realized it was all just my wishful thinking. Quietly, I exited the group chat. Still, I couldn't let it go. I called Chris. I wanted to ask him myself, was what he said in the recording true? Did he only get close to me because of Mia? Was he so disgusted being with me? The phone rang for a long time before he finally picked up. There was noise and commotion in the background. Chris's deep voice came through. "Lynn?" I paused for a second and asked, "Aren't you supposed to be resting at home?" Before Chris could answer, a crisp girl's voice called out from nearby. "Chris, it's your turn." I heard it clearly. It was Mia's voice. Chris quickly said, "Lynn, something's come up. We'll talk tomorrow at school, okay?" And before I could respond, he abruptly hung up. The dial tone buzzed in my ear. I held the phone tightly, a wave of bitterness washing over me. My heart was in complete chaos. Just then, a WeChat notification popped up. It was a message from Mia, a video clip. In a dimly lit private room, the lighting was hazy and seductive. Mia and Chris were playing some ridiculous game where they had to pass a beer bottle cap mouth to mouth. A small die was balanced precariously on top. Mia's cheeks were flushed red. She held the cap between her cherry lips, gazing at Chris with watery eyes like a sweet, obedient kitten. Chris chuckled and said, "Who's the genius who came up with this game? Passing bottle caps mouth to mouth without dropping the die?" The people around them, thinking he was hesitating, started teasing him loudly. "What's wrong, Chris? Scared? Can't handle the challenge?" Mia looked a little disappointed, the sparkle in her eyes dimming, and her eyes dimming. The next second, Chris suddenly leaned in and took the bottle cap from Mia's mouth, turned his head and spat it out, then pressed his lips to hers in a deep kiss. A handsome guy and a beautiful girl, locked in a passionate embrace. Visually, it looked like something out of a dreamy romantic movie. Everyone watching paused in stunned silence for about 2 seconds, then the room exploded into deafening cheers and screams. When the kiss ended, Chris glanced lazily at the cap that had fallen on the ground and muttered in a nonchalant tone, "Guess the dice dropped." Then he casually raised both hands and said, "I give up." The video ended there. Mia followed up with several messages. "Congrats on getting first place in the grade again, Lynn. But sorry to say, I heard you asked Chris out for sushi after school, and he turned you down because he was with me. After all, I'm the one who messed up my exam, right? I'm the one who needs comforting. Borrowing your boyfriend for one night? Hope you're not mad." I stared at her provocative messages and let out a laugh. It was strange. Questions that had once left me confused now had crystal clear answers. After school today, I really had invited Chris to get sushi with me. I was still high on the joy of ranking first in the grade, practically skipping as I walked, my face glowing with pride. That sushi place had been open for 6 months and was always packed. I had been wanting to try it for ages. Chris, with his hands in his pockets, looked disinterested, even a little annoyed. "It's just first place, what's the big deal?" he muttered. I tilted my head and widened my eyes at him. "Of course I'm happy. First place high is ranked top among the 4 elite schools, and I've managed to take first place twice in a row here. That's a big deal." But the irritation in Chris's expression only deepened. I studied him and finally realized he didn't look pleased at all. Chris had, once again, ranked near the bottom in this exam. But he'd never really cared about grades, so it didn't make sense for him to be upset about that. Then why was he unhappy? Was it because I did too well? Did it hurt his pride? With that thought in mind, I reached out and held his hand confidently, speaking sincerely. "Grades don't mean everything. To me, you're still Chris, no matter how you do on tests. I like you just the same." But Chris suddenly yanked his hand away and snapped, full of contempt. "Do you really not get tired of saying I like you all the time? Doesn't it make you sick? You're the most pathetic simp I've ever met." I froze in shock, staring at him blankly. A dull ache spread in my chest as I stood there, unsure of what I'd said wrong to make him lash out like that. Was it really disgusting to tell the person you love that you love them? My parents loved each other deeply. They used to tell me, "Sweetheart, love should be expressed, not hidden. Don't be stingy with affection. Let the people you care about know how you feel." Had everything they taught me been wrong? Chris looked at me for a moment, as if something in my face triggered a memory. His eyes softened a little, and his tone mellowed. "Sorry, Summer, I've just been really tired lately. I want to go home and rest. Let's do sushi some other day, okay?" I quickly smiled and waved my hand. "It's okay, really." But the Chris who said he was going home to rest was actually going off to comfort his little childhood sweetheart. It was only today that I finally understood. Just because someone's ears turn red doesn't mean their heart is moved. Apparently, even love can be performed. I locked myself in the bathroom and turned the tap on full blast. I cried uncontrollably, sobbing until I was nearly out of breath. Flashes of memories from my relationship with Chris ran through my mind. A year ago, because of my dad's business expansion, I transferred to first place high. Chris and I were desk mates. He always slept in class. I heard his family was really wealthy. The teachers couldn't really do anything about him either. As his desk mate, I found Chris wasn't hard to get along with. He was quiet when he slept in class. Sometimes he'd bury his whole face in the crook of his arm, and other times he'd turn his face toward me. In the soft morning light, shadows outlined his features. The sunlight landed on his face, sharp and defined like it was carved from stone. His eyelashes were long, his nose was straight, and his lips were thin. I rested my chin in my hand, gazing at him in a daze, thinking to myself, "Wow, that face is just ridiculously handsome." But before I could snap out of it, Chris suddenly opened his eyes. I froze as our eyes met. Then he smiled and said the first words he ever spoke to me. "Do you like what you see?" My heart pounded like crazy. My face turned beet red, and I quickly looked down and flipped open a book, pretending to be busy. After that, Chris began pursuing me relentlessly. Before long, we were officially together. He was my first boyfriend, the one I fell for during my budding teenage years. I took our relationship very seriously. To be fair, Chris played the role of a boyfriend flawlessly. He loved giving me gifts, planning surprises, creating moments full of romance. His study wasn't even open to his parents, but he let me in without hesitation. When I had my period and terrible cramps, craving the wontons from a shop on the far side of town, he hopped on his motorcycle in the middle of a freezing winter night and rode across the city just to bring me that one bowl of wontons. One memory after another flooded back to me, like candy-coated poison. Sweet at first, but laced with bitterness. At last, I gave up for real. I pulled myself together and knocked on my dad's study door. Even though I had iced my eyes for half the day and most of the swelling had gone down, my dad immediately noticed I had been crying. "Sweetheart, why are you crying? What happened?" I lowered my head and said softly, "Dad, I don't want to stay at first place high anymore. The pressure is too much. I want to transfer schools." My dad didn't even hesitate. He reached out his big hand to gently ruffle my hair and said with warmth, "That's fine, sweetheart. You can study wherever you want. Just do your best. Don't push yourself too hard. Even if the sky falls, your dad will hold it up for you, all right?" His kindness made my nose sting again. I almost started crying right there. When Mom heard I was transferring, she didn't ask any questions. She just supported my decision without condition. That night before bed, she climbed into my bed and said she wanted to sleep with me. I nestled into her arms. She smelled so comforting. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but surprisingly, I fell asleep almost instantly. The next day, Dad went to the school to handle my transfer paperwork. I wanted to go too, but he stopped me, shoved a card into my hand, and said, "Let me take care of it. You go shopping. Buy whatever you want. Don't try to save me money." I ended up buying a few mystery boxes, then wandered into a bookstore. My favorite author had just released a new novel, and there was only one copy left on the shelf. I reached for it just as a voice behind me chirped excitedly, "Oh wow, there's still one copy left, ma'am." Without hesitation, I picked up the book. When I turned around, I saw Chris and Mia standing together. Handsome guy, beautiful girl, they looked like a picture-perfect couple. Chris looked surprised to see me. "Summer, why aren't you in class?" I didn't answer him. I walked right past them toward the register. Mia quickly grabbed my hand and gave me a pitiful look. "Lynn, could you please let me have this book? I'll pay you 10 times the price, okay? I've been to every bookstore in town looking for it. They're all sold out, only this store has one left." I flatly refused. "Sorry, I'm not short on money." Mia's face instantly turned pale. Mia looked visibly uncomfortable. Her eyes shimmered with a thin layer of tears. Chris turned to me and said, "Today's Mia's birthday. Be the bigger person and let her have it, okay? The store will restock soon, you can just wait a few days." I couldn't help but ask, "Then why can't Mia wait a few days?" I picked up this book first. What's wrong with first come, first served? Chris's expression went completely cold. His gaze was like ice. "You're really going to get jealous over something like this? Seriously, Lynn?" His voice was sharp with irritation. "Tell me the truth. Do you even like this author? Or are you just trying to pick a fight with Mia on purpose because she likes him?" Mia stood behind Chris, smiling smugly at me. I looked up and locked eyes with Chris. "So that's how you really see me, huh?" Maybe I looked too serious, because Chris's eyes flickered with a brief moment of panic. But it quickly disappeared. He lowered his gaze, softened his tone, and tried to coax me. "Don't be like this, Summer. I'll buy you a copy as soon as the store restocks, okay?" Suddenly, I felt like all of this was meaningless. I shoved the book into Chris's arms and said, clearly and slowly, "I don't want it anymore. I don't want to like you anymore." From that moment on, Chris grew increasingly distant and cold. The warmth of spring faded, like mist drifting through the hills. I didn't want to run into Chris and Mia again, so I transferred to Nanhua High School in the neighboring city. Nanhua was one of the top-ranked schools, just like First Place High. I adjusted quickly and caught up with the lessons in no time. This time, I focused completely on my studies and avoided socializing altogether, until the day the results of the monthly exams were posted. I had accidentally ranked first in the grade again. A crowd gathered around the bulletin board, buzzing with excitement. No way, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Jackson didn't take the top spot this time. You're not seeing things. I saw it too. Who the heck is this Lynn girl who beat him? She's the super pretty one in our class. But kind of hard to approach, really cold personality. She's new, right? Transferred not too long ago. From first place high. Oh, that explains it. What's that supposed to mean? I mean, first place is a top school. Why are you acting like she's not a threat? Looks like Jackson finally has some competition. This is going to be fun to watch. As everyone got hyped up over the gossip, my heart sank halfway. Seriously? There's another top student here who dominates the rankings? I already had psychological scars from Mia. Another one might just push me over the edge. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I knocked on the door of Miss Jiang's office during the lunch break. Inside was a tall, handsome boy with a quiet, bookish vibe. He was slim and well-proportioned, with delicate features and an air of calm elegance. I couldn't help but glance at him a few more times. He must have noticed because under my steady gaze, he gradually straightened his already straight posture. Miss Jiang looked up. What is it, Lynn? I finally remembered why I was there. Miss Jiang, I'd like to take a look at Jackson's test papers. The boy glanced sideways at me. Miss Jiang gave him a quick look, then turned back to me and teased. Why do you want to see his test? Got a crush on him? She looked so young, baby-faced, and dressed like a college student that her warmth felt more like a friendly upperclassman than a strict teacher. I wasn't surprised by the joke, but before I could blush, the boy's face turned red first. I stared at him in confusion as he turned even redder, his pale skin flushing deeper and deeper like it might catch fire. Miss Jiang asked again, So? Why do you want to see his test? I quickly answered, It's just that I want to learn from the top student. I thought it might help me improve. Miss Jiang chuckled. Well, Jackson didn't score as high as you this time. Don't go backward after looking at his paper, all right? I broke out in cold sweat. She meant it as a joke, but the implication stung a little. Truth was, I really did want to see Jackson's test, mostly to avoid slipping up next time. I wanted to gauge his actual level so I could intentionally score just below him in the next exam, stay under the radar, avoid drawing attention, and most importantly, not attract another Mia into my life. Miss Jiang didn't make things difficult. She handed me Jackson's test paper, and I carefully went through it. After getting a good sense of his strengths, I returned the paper to her. As I was leaving the office, the same boy from earlier got up and walked out behind me. We walked down the hallway together, one in front of the other, then entered the same classroom, Class 1. So he was actually my classmate? That little encounter didn't leave much of an impression on me. I quickly slipped back into machine mode, tuning out everything except my studies. We had 2 more exams after that. I deliberately slipped from first place to second, each time trailing Jackson by exactly 10 points. Everyone's attention shifted back to Jackson. They were amazed and impressed all over again. No surprise Jackson still was number 1. Took back the top spot like it was nothing. I was secretly thrilled. Well done, Lynn. That score adjustment plan worked perfectly. On the way back to class, I was practically bouncing with each step. But then, out of nowhere, someone blocked me at a quiet corner of the hallway. It was the same guy I had seen in the office that day. His dark eyes looked like they were burning with flames. He was angry and, strangely enough, beautiful in that moment. Lynn, he said sharply. What exactly is your deal? I froze. He seemed even angrier now. I cautiously replied, Excuse me, do you have the wrong person? I don't know you. Maybe there's another Lynn in our school? The moment I said that, it was like I'd stirred up a hornet's nest. His eyes turned red with frustration. He looked both wronged and baffled. You don't know me? You seriously don't know me? I gave him a blank, almost innocent stare. He gritted his teeth and burst out, Lynn, you're too much. You went to the teacher and asked to see my test paper, pretending it was just for studying, but it was just to adjust your score, wasn't it? Every time you score exactly 10 points below me, you think I'm stupid and wouldn't notice? The more he spoke, the more upset he looked. His eyes even started to mist over. And what's worse, he paused, his voice trembling slightly. You didn't even know I'm Jackson. I was struck like lightning. Oh my God, Jackson is a boy, and not just any boy. He was the same one I had seen in Miss Jiang's office. The one who looked so quiet and scholarly. The one I nearly drove to tears that day. Being confronted like this made me feel incredibly awkward. I had to admit, manipulating my scores like that had been a little arrogant. My real goal was to stay low profile, but ironically, it had the opposite effect, and right in front of the person I was trying to avoid. Miss Jiang thought the whole thing was hilarious when she found out. Turns out, she was Jackson's aunt. She loved stirring the pot and, for her own amusement, reassigned our seats so we became deskmates. Jackson looked at me seriously and said, "Lynn, please respect me. Stop trying to throw your scores." I nodded hard and raised 2 fingers. Okay, I swear. Once we became seatmates, I realized Jackson actually had a very gentle personality. Whenever he couldn't win an argument with me, he'd just look at me helplessly, yet indulgently. Eventually, instead of calling me Lynn, he started calling me Xia. One afternoon, during lunch, my mom called. She said that someone from my old school had come to our house. A pretty good-looking boy, looking totally lost and broken, said he was there to deliver a book, and also asked about me. Mom said, "Sweetheart, you transferred because of him, didn't you?" "I didn't take the book," she added. "And I told him you'd gone abroad." I was stunned. I hadn't told my parents anything about my relationship with Chris, so how did Mom know? She laughed gently. "Come on, I'm your mother. Even if you don't say it out loud, I can still tell." Hearing about Chris again stirred up a dull ache in my chest. Just then, the latest test results came out. Jackson had beaten me by 1 point. He blinked a few times, his thick lashes trembling slightly. His expression was filled with disbelief. "You didn't throw your score this time, did you?" I crouched down, covered my face, and fake cried. "You beat me by 1 point and still have to rub salt in the wound? You're heartless." It started off as pretend crying, but after a few sobs, real tears began to fall, drop by drop. Jackson panicked completely. He looked flustered and scrambled to comfort me. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. Xia, please don't cry, okay? If you forgive me, I'll do anything you want." My tears stopped instantly. I looked up at him with a playful glint in my eyes, lips curling into a bright smile. "Really? Anything?" His ears turned slightly red, and he nodded stiffly. I got excited, rubbed my hands together, and tried to think of something good. But nothing came to mind. The girl who sat in front of me, Lizzie, had become close friends with me lately. When she found out, her eyes sparkled mischievously. She said, "Then let Jackson pretend to be Xia's boyfriend, like an AI boyfriend, just to provide emotional value. Once the college entrance exams are over, the contract ends." She looked at me, full of anticipation. "What do you think?" I turned to Jackson, a bit dazed. "What do you think?" Jackson's eyes widened in shock, then his face turned bright red. He lowered his head and mumbled, "We don't have to pretend. I already like her." Lizzie and I stared at him, stunned. His eyes were sparkling, and in those dark pupils, I saw a tiny reflection of myself. "Lynn," he said softly, "I like you." In that moment, my heart skipped a beat and I panicked. I turned and ran away. That's when I finally realized I was completely and utterly shallow. I had a total weakness for good looks. Every time I saw Jackson's beautiful, delicate face, my heart would race, my brain would fog up, and I'd lose all rational thought. You might think that's normal, but honestly, it's dangerous. So, I started avoiding Jackson. I even requested to swap seats with Lizzie. Whenever Jackson tried to go over study problems with me, I would put on a stern face. "You're not allowed to talk to me." He would nod obediently. "Okay." But not long after, he'd come back with a workbook in his hands. "Xia, can you help me with this question?" No talking. "Sorry, I forgot again." And so the cycle repeated. Meanwhile, Chris got a phone call late one night from his younger brother Jackson. Jackson, sounding dead serious, asked him for advice on how to pursue a girl. They were blood brothers. When they were 10, their parents divorced. Jackson took their mother's last name and went with her, while Chris stayed with their wealthy father. Even though they had lived apart, the bond between them had never broken. Chris was a little surprised. "You're dating?" Jackson admitted without hesitation. "I really like her. I just don't know how to make her like me back. Chris drifted into a daze. In his memory, there was a lively, clear voice echoing, "Chris, I really like you. You're the best." That girl had always said it so openly, so earnestly, without holding anything back. Her feelings were fiery and pure. Without even realizing it, he'd been moved, drawn to her. Lynn reminded him of orange soda, bright, bubbly, always fizzing in his heart, sending little ripples through him. Sweet and sour and hard to ignore. He had almost forgotten that he initially pursued her just to help Mia. Mia, of course, noticed it before he did. She gave an exaggerated look and said, "Wait a second, Chris. Don't tell me you actually like Lynn?" His carefully buried thoughts were suddenly exposed. A strange surge of pride and embarrassment took over. Flustered and defensive, he angrily denied it. He even started carrying around a voice recorder in his pocket, secretly recording all the little moments between him and Lynn. He cut all the times she said "I like you" into one long compilation and labeled it "Simp Lynn's Greatest Hits." Then, with fake annoyance, he'd tell people, "Lynn always says she loves me. It's so annoying." It was disgusting, really. Back then, Chris had been so cowardly, so low, trying to cover up the sound of his own racing heartbeat by humiliating someone else. He sent the audio compilation to Mia, trying to prove, really, desperately prove, that he didn't like me at all. What he didn't expect was for Mia to secretly forward that file. That night at the KTV party, while playing the beer cap passing game, he looked into Mia's love-struck eyes, and without meaning to, a different pair of eyes flashed through his mind. Bright, mischievous, unforgettable eyes. My eyes. His heart skipped a beat. As if trying to shake me out of his head, he suddenly lifted Mia's chin and kissed her hard. But after the kiss ended, Chris felt completely unsettled. Strangely guilty, like he'd cheated. He thought he was losing his mind. How could kissing Mia possibly feel like cheating? They were childhood sweethearts. Weren't they supposed to be the perfect match? The last time he and I saw each other was in the bookstore. We got into a small argument over a book. Chris had pressured me to give it up to Mia. At the time he thought it was no big deal, it was just a book. He figured he could make up for it by buying me 10 more once it was restocked. But later he realized he was wrong. There was no making up for it. Because I'd disappeared. I vanished from his world before he even understood his true feelings for me. It wasn't until much later that he found out Mia had sent out that voice compilation. Furious, he went to confront her. Mia just tilted her head calmly and said, "Chris, you're the one who collected those clips yourself." Chris flushed red. She was right. He had gathered those clips with his own hands. So, why was he afraid of the person they were about seeing them? He tried to convince himself it didn't matter. So what if I disappeared? It wasn't real anyway. But as time passed, Chris found himself thinking of me more and more. By the 99th time my smiling face popped into his mind, he finally admitted it. He liked me too. He went a little crazy, constantly pestering the homeroom teacher about where I'd gone, but the teacher didn't know either. Eventually, all he could find was the address of my family's villa. He brought the book and went there. My mom opened the door. She smiled politely, but her eyes were distant and cold. She didn't take the book. She just told him, "Lynn went abroad." "Did she really?" Chris asked. He left our house looking like a lost, broken man. He wandered aimlessly through the streets, rain starting to fall around him. Thunderous music blasted from a nearby storefront. "Your eyes are so beautiful, your smile even more enchanting. I'd love to gently hold your lovely face and whisper dreams, like yesterday, when you and I. But now I walk alone each night, the streets cold and empty. I fought for myself all this time, but never knew your pain." The lyrics pierced his heart. Chris staggered to a stop, then dropped to his knees at the street corner, sobbing so hard he felt like his heart was being torn apart. "Bro, are you listening?" Jackson's voice broke through the memory, pulling Chris back to the present. "Huh?" Chris muttered. "I said, do you know how to pursue a girl or not?" Jackson repeated. Chris, still distracted, replied, "You got abs?" Jackson replied seriously, "I'm using seduction." Just as Jackson was about to hang up, Chris suddenly remembered something and asked, "Wait, at your school, is there a new transfer student this term? She's really pretty, always smiling. Her name is Lynn Summers." There was a buzz of static on the other end, followed by Jackson's gentle voice. "Nope, don't know anyone like that." The semester ended quickly. During winter break, I went home. Jackson messaged me every day, sometimes pictures of the bright full moon with a note, "The moon is beautiful tonight." Sometimes he'd send me photos of puppies. So cute. Just like you. Then one night, out of nowhere, Jackson sent me a shirtless photo. He had just surfaced from a pool, water cascading over his body like a waterfall, sliding down those sharply defined 8-pack abs and disappearing beneath his swim trunks. His fair skin glowed with a warm bronze hue under the pool lights. I didn't expect Jackson to be so fit. That body, anyone would be dizzy after seeing it. I quickly saved the photo, then slowly replied with a single question mark. The next second, Jackson deleted the photo. "Sorry," he wrote, "sent it by mistake." I looked at his obvious cover-up and couldn't help but laugh. Good thing I saved it in time. Fast hands win, slow hands miss out. I tossed my phone onto the bed and didn't reply. After my bath, I came back to find that Jackson had sent over a dozen WeChat messages. Seriously, I sent it by mistake. "Shia, why aren't you replying?" "Okay, I didn't send it by mistake. I sent it on purpose. I thought you'd like that kind of thing. I was too forward. I won't do it again. Shia, please don't be mad at me. Talk to me, okay? I'm sorry. I'll apologize in person. I'm coming to see you." It takes 3 hours by car to get from his city to mine. It was already 9 p.m. Was Jackson really planning to drive across cities in the middle of the night just to say sorry? I don't know why, but my heart started to race too. Lying in bed, I couldn't help but look forward to seeing him. At 12:10 a.m., a new message popped up on my screen. "Jackson, Shia, come to your window." I jumped out of bed, threw on my slippers, and rushed to the window. When I looked down, I saw Jackson standing outside my yard, smiling and waving at me. The moonlight lit up his face. The shadows of night stretched behind him. He looked as elegant and clear as a jade sculpture, tall and graceful. In the distance, fireworks burst in the sky. And in that moment, I heard my heart pounding like thunder in my chest. Maybe I really had fallen for Jackson. I ran downstairs in my slippers. "Jackson, you really came." "I said I'd apologize in person," he said, face flushed, his tone serious. "I'm sorry, Shia. I like you. I just didn't know how to express it. I panicked and made some really dumb moves." Honestly, I kind of liked how shameless he could be about it. But after everything, I wasn't ready to say I like you so easily anymore. I smiled faintly. "You coming all this way to see me? I was actually really touched. Maybe we could try." Jackson's eyes lit up. Then suddenly, he reached out and gently covered my mouth. I blinked at him, confused. He leaned in slightly, his dark eyes soft like rippling water. "Shia, don't make any decisions just because you're moved in the moment. That might not come from your heart. I can wait. I'll wait until you really like me. After the college entrance exam, you can give me your answer. Is that okay?" In the second semester of senior year, we both put our feelings aside and threw ourselves into studying. Even Lizzie, who was always laid back, tightened up like we were heading into battle. Time flew by. As the college entrance exams approached, the school gave us a short break. I didn't study at all. I just stayed home and let myself relax for a day. That night, Jackson sent me a WeChat message. "You've got this. I believe in you." When I walked into the exam hall, I felt totally confident. The questions went smoothly. After the final subject on day 3, a wave of students surged out the school gates like a river bursting through its banks. Parents had been waiting outside for hours. The crowd broke into hugs, laughter, crying, screaming, every sound blending into one emotional crescendo. It was the ending theme of our high school journey, but also the opening line of a new chapter in our lives. After the exams, I remembered the promise I made to Jackson. I started to feel anxious. But Jackson didn't rush me. He just messaged casually, "What school are you applying to?" I replied, "Qingbei." On the night of our class graduation dinner, I came down with a nasty cold. Luckily, I had a perfect excuse not to go. I laid curled up on the sofa, holding my phone, feeling weak and dazed. Mom came over and placed a hand on my forehead. "Good, the fever's gone down." I suddenly sat up and looked at her. "Mom, I think I like a boy." Her lips curved into a soft smile, as if she'd been waiting for me to finally admit it. I got a little embarrassed and rubbed my nose. My voice was hoarse from the cold as I mumbled, "He likes me too, but I'm not sure if I should be with him." Mom gently ran her fingers through my hair. Sweetheart, don't be afraid to express love just because you're scared of getting hurt. The ones who should be punished are the people who hurt others without remorse, not the ones who are brave enough to love openly. If you both like each other, then why not be together? Don't let yourself regret it later. Her words lit something up inside me. My eyes grew brighter, and the weight in my heart lifted. I leaned over and kissed her cheek. Thanks, Mom. Then I bought the earliest high-speed train ticket I could find, and rushed to see Jackson. He had come all the way to see me last time, so this time it was my turn. By the time I arrived downstairs at his building, I remembered he was at a class dinner. I didn't want to text him. I wanted to surprise him. So I sat on the steps and waited. I didn't have to wait long. Soon, Jackson's figure appeared in the distance. I shot to my feet and ran straight into his arms like a cannonball, hugging him tightly, eyes sparkling as I looked up at him. Jackson, I like you. Let's be together. He smelled faintly of alcohol, his cheeks flushed red. When his eyes met mine, there was a dazed look in them. Am I dreaming? He murmured. Then he pinched his own cheek, hard. Ow! His dazed gaze cleared up instantly. A burst of light seemed to explode in his eyes. Xia, it's me. Did you really say yes? You want to be with me? I looked at him. Before transferring to Nanhua, I'd gone through a failed relationship. My feelings had been trampled on, made to feel worthless. So I turned into a coward, afraid, hesitant, unable to accept him. But the truth was, I had already fallen for Jackson a long time ago. Yes, I said, let's be together. Jackson kissed me. Bookmark. The kiss left me breathless, and only then did I suddenly remember I was still sick. My face flushed as I tried to push him away. I have a cold. You'll catch it. I don't care, he whispered. Then we'll be sick together. His mom was out of town on a business trip. The only other person home was his older brother, but no adults. He quietly sneaked me into his room. The moment he closed the door, I pinned him against the wall and kissed him first, slowly letting my lips trace down to the base of his throat, to the veins pulsing there, to his pronounced Adam's apple. Jackson let out a soft groan, a husky breath that sent a tremor through my spine. His arms tightened around me, letting me do whatever I wanted. His eyes were glazed, lips glistening like they were burning. Just as we were melting into each other, the door suddenly banged from the outside. Startled like a rabbit, I bolted for the bed and dove under the covers. What's up? Jackson called through the door. I'm trying to sleep. A guy outside let out a snort. Open the door. From beneath the blanket, I could hear the door open. The guy outside said in a lazy drawl, Here, .01 ultra thin. Take precautions. Also, the walls in this old house are thin. Keep it down. Jackson growled in frustration. It's not what you think. The guy replied casually, Fine, I'll mind my own business. Silence returned to the doorway. I thought he had left, so I lifted the blanket off my head. My nose was already stuffy from the cold, and now from being buried under the blanket too long, I was starting to feel lightheaded. Then suddenly, a trembling voice called out, Xia. I turned toward the sound, and there was Chris, standing in the doorway, fists clenched, eyes red as he stared at me. I never thought I'd see him again. And I definitely didn't expect him to be Jackson's older brother. They didn't look alike at all. From appearance to personality, they couldn't have been more different. Chris's voice was hoarse. I'm sorry, Xia. Back then I was young and foolish. I hurt you without even realizing it. I looked at him calmly, without a trace of emotion. Chris slowly dropped to his knees in front of me, slapping himself across the face again and again. Xia, I miss you so much. When you transferred, I searched everywhere for you. I was going crazy, but you completely vanished. I couldn't find even a trace of you. Xia, I like you. That audio, it was Mia who shared it. Not me. I didn't know anything about it. I never meant to hurt you. I've completely cut ties with Mia now. Can you give me another chance to make things right? At first, I wanted to throw his own words back at him about love being disgusting, fake affection, and all that. But when the words reached my lips, I couldn't say them. It wasn't worth it. That chapter of my life was already closed. I didn't want to turn into someone like Chris. So I said flatly, Chris, you're truly pathetic. And for the record, saying sorry doesn't fix everything. I don't forgive you. Despair filled Chris's eyes. Then suddenly, he pointed at Jackson and snapped. What, you think he's some saint? He knew I was looking for you. I even asked him if he'd met a transfer student named Lynn Summers, and he said no. He lied, he said no. You think I'm low? What about him? Jackson stepped in front of me. If you've got a problem, take it up with me. Don't take it out on Shia. Chris lost it. You manipulative little fake. And just like that, the two brothers started swinging at each other. Neither held back. They fought like they meant to break bones. I didn't stop them. I just stood and watched. By the time they were both bruised and bloodied, sitting on the floor catching their breath, I took Jackson's hand and led him to the pharmacy to buy medicine. Chris watched us walk away, fingers intertwined, our closeness unmistakable. He fell back onto the cold floor, eyes blank under the harsh ceiling light. He covered his face with his arm, but the tears still slipped quietly down the sides of his cheeks. It was like Chris had finally realized he'd lost me for good. Not long after, a video went viral online. Two freshmen at Qingbei University were confessing their love to each other on camera. The beautiful girl beamed as she said, "I like you." The handsome boy blushed and replied, serious, a little stubborn and childishly sincere, "I like you 100 times more than you like me. Better than yesterday, a little braver tomorrow." The end.